shout out to Boxing Bros UK.
Thanks, brother.
Cheers, bro. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. This is Boxing Bros UK. I am Mr. Boss Chris. This is my co-host, Andrew the Boxing Brain. And topic of the day is Fabio, Wardley, Justis, Huni fight review.
Wow.
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 The British Wilder. The British Wilder is confirmed now, isn't it?
So I'll talk us through the fight for a bit, and then we'll go through it. So basically, there's not really too much to say. Just Huni. Firstly, I'd like to say Huni. Wow. I'm so impressed with him. His shot selection was amazing. His speed, his footwork, ring craft. Obviously, Fabio Wardley made it easy for him, but it was like you could really see that Fabio Wardley has not had any amateur fights because he was in there with someone who's a polished amateur. He, like, say, Wardley's guard. So he's doing that, isn't he? He's got his hand low. If you're going to do that, it needs to be there. Or there, hold the phone. You got to do something, hold the phone, stand a little bit more like so you can use your shoulder. He was doing none of that. Wardley was stood there like this. This guarding hand there, hand low. And then Huni was just going, oh, you're just going to stand there? Ping. You're just going to stand there. Hook. Ping. It was just one shot in him. Then he was landing combinations. It was just really, really bad. And then Fabio Wardley, he kept trying to punch through the guard.
Yeah.
So it was hitting him. Trying to punch through his guard, couldn't get through it, and then he was getting countered. And I don't know why he didn't tap the guard, 1-2 to the body, tap the guard, and go to the body straight away. He's quick enough to do it, but he weren't doing that. He just kept trying to jab through the guard, getting countered, moving back in a straight line, getting countered again. Then trying to like fight on the back foot while getting jabbed, his head jabbed. It was just, Huni was all over him. And Huni was punching around his arm, punching through it. He just absolutely was battering him all. I think I gave Fabio Wardley 1 round. And then the best thing I'd say for Huni, where he is learning, and I know we put lucky on the thumbnail, but let me tell you, that punch was no fucking luck whatsoever. Fabio Wardley moved his head off the line, and then if you watch the replay, he moved his head off the line and through the overhand right. So the punch that Huni threw at the same time didn't really land, and he got knocked out. So it was no luck. He threw that shot perfectly.
Lucky win, though. Lucky win. Not a lucky shot, but a lucky win.
Lucky win.
Lucky win.
Huni, and the only reason why he landed it, Huni switched off. This is my theory. I believe that Huni thought, this is too easy. He got overconfident and thought, this shit is too fucking easy.
It was his corner as well. His corner guy. We'll get into that a little bit.
He come in and he stepped in, chin in the air, square on, went to throw because he just thought this guy. He felt too relaxed. Thought it was too easy. He stepped in, square on, chin in the air, threw a shot. Yeah. And got knocked out.
Looked to the ground, didn't he? Looked to the ground. Huni come forward, like chin gaping open, and he's got a big old fucking Mount Everest of a. Like, he's got one of the biggest chins and beaks and jaws I've ever seen. It is there to be it, that's for sure. Like you say, switched off, you know. And I've got a few sort of questions around this, but Fabio Wardley did what a lot of Ben Davidson fighters seem to do: just look at the ground. You know, bowl a right hand over the top and just caught him flush, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a good shot, and I love the way that Wardley, he moved his head off the line just before he threw it. Bent his knees a little, dip, bang. It was like, So even though he's not great, he's a fucking quality puncher. He's a quality puncher. Because like he's throwing them knockout shots and he's moving his head off the line before he throws. He's a really good puncher. Just needs to work on other stuff.
And after 10 rounds of being battered, I mean that's the thing with Wardley. Like his power and his heart and chin can't be questioned until maybe he gets in there with a puncher, because he hasn't really. Let's be honest. Who's the heaviest puncher he's faced? I mean, Clark isn't really a puncher. Look, this is the problem with Huni. All the skills about boxer tricks, and he definitely can come again and rebuild. Absolutely, but. Bloody hell, he lacks power, and his chin is susceptible. And like me and you were saying, like yesterday, I think it was, Chris, that unfortunately in the heavyweight division, you can have all the skills in the world, but Usyk's got all the skills, but he also he's got a bit of pop in his shots, and he's got an unbelievable chin. And Huni, unfortunately, I think he lacks in those two key areas. And it is what it is. And I just want to say as well, on our TikTok, we had a few fellas saying, "Oh, you know, Huni's going to win this. His footwork is too good. He's too much of a technician." And I said, basically, what me and Chris, and I included you in the conversation, we agree with you, but we just feel that Wardley might catch him at some point, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, because that Lorena guy, yeah, he was thumping up Huni and really hurting him, giving him Bambi legs. And like we said, if that's Wardley, he's knocking you out. He's not giving you a chance to recover. You're not going to be on Bambi legs. You're going to be on your back like he was.
He's got world-class power, any Chris? And also, just to add in there before I get to the question, Teddy Atlas got a little bit bumped. What does he know, Teddy Atlas, eh? He put £1,500 he put on Huni. But you know what? I will say this, Teddy Atlas, he weren't far off it happening, was he, to be fair? On another night, he'd have won that bet and got that right.
When he bet on AJ, he won them ones, but always goes, and whenever a British guy's fighting anyone, and I'm sure he's so-called being an expert, he's wrong more than he's right when it comes.
I've noticed he does that. He always bets against the British guys. I've noticed.
Tell me about his boxing, it's bullshit, it's biased. You don't like it because America's not #1 dog anymore. Fair enough.
I find it quite entertaining, but I totally take what you say. I've kind of broke this down to a degree, but I'll just kind of go. I've tried to sort of do it. We'll go through each sort of bit. But the first thing, because a lot of people, it's my first question for you, Chris, and then I'll add a little bit as well. A lot of people think it was a bit of a moody count. A lot of people may think it was too quick a count. The broadcaster quickly went to Frank Warren. I wanted to see the count. It was all a bit weird when I was watching. I was thinking, why are we going straight to Frank Warren? You obviously saw this as well. Very fast count. Basically, my question is, should Huni have maybe been given a chance to recover? What would you think?
Absolutely not. Right. I thought I didn't know if you were going to ask this question because I wanted to address it.
You know I will.
Yeah. Let me say to everybody who's watching, yeah, if you're new to boxing, I've seen people online saying, I've never seen anything else. Right. You always have counters on the side of the ring. I can't remember what their actual name is. Some sort of officials, yeah? That as soon as his back touches the canvas, they start counting. And when the referee tells Wardley, go back to your corner, he looks to them and they'll go, and they went like this too. So he starts from 3 or he starts from 2, yeah? Because if you're telling someone to go back to your corner, he's on his back. The count starts from when he's on his back. It doesn't start from when the ref starts counting. And that's been in boxing for about 20, 30 years. It's not new. So I don't know why everyone's like, oh, what's going on? It was a slow count, or it was a fast count. It wasn't a fast count. It was the right count because he looks at the official because he knows that he didn't start counting straight away because he was dealing with Wardley. And they went like this, 2. So he starts 2, 3, 4. He starts from there. If the guy said 5, he starts from 5. And it has happened before where it was the right count. Stop fucking crying and saying that he didn't make it. Watch it again and start counting 10 seconds from when he hits the floor and you'll see it's right. So I don't want to hear that bullshit.
Good answer. I knew I'd get an impassioned response one way or the other. The only thing... the count seemed a bit faster. That's the only thing I would say. But the two things I would say to that is didn't seem to be much protesting from, and you see it in football. If there's not much protesting, there's normally because, you know, it probably was the right. I think he was. He probably would have been. I know it's all hearsay, but he probably would have been knocked out anyway. I think he wouldn't have recovered in time. I mean, people might say, oh, maybe Fabio Wardley would have punched himself out. I don't know. At the end of the day...
He's a finisher, adrenaline. Trust me, he would have fucking...
Yeah.
He wouldn't.
Huni didn't complain too much. The team didn't complain. I was okay with the stoppage, so I'm pretty much in line. I felt the count was a bit fast. But what people need to understand as well, it's not a 10 count. It's not 1, 2. A lot of people get this misconstrued, Chris, don't they? Yeah. It's a 10 count, not a 10-second count. So it's the referee's discretion. Exactly. So,
and you can't tell me the ref was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He wasn't doing that. I don't know what people are complaining about.
No,
it's just because he started the count at like 2 or 3 seconds. Yeah, and people are like, "Well, how can they be at 10 already?" But he didn't start from 1. He started from when his cue was from the other official who was carrying on the count. So that's why it seemed fast. But actually, it was a normal 10 count.
The only other point I'll chuck in, Chris, do you think maybe because it was for an interim belt that there maybe should have been given another, or do you not think that's a factor?
If you don't make it up by 10, then that's a KO. So he can't be given a chance because he got knocked out. You have to get up before 10 seconds is over.
Yeah,
And
fair enough.
he was
I just wanted to add all parts in there, you know.
And it was on Bambi legs. Like, there's a video. In fact, I might add it in as we're talking about it, just to play in the background. If you look at Huni's legs, it was fucked. And he was not facing Lorena. He's facing a destroyer who knows he's lost every round. And it's near the end of the fight. You don't think he's going to he's going to kill you because he's going to be so excited and trying to get. And Wardley's a good finisher. Very good finisher. Next Daisy, he could have got hurt badly.
Yeah. So that kind of neatly leads on to my next question. It might have been, and you might be able to help me out. I don't know if it was just before the round he gets knocked out in or the round before, but his trainer, who was giving good advice throughout the whole fight, essentially, right, he was massively up in the cards, right? We know he was anyway. That's been pretty much confirmed. Then his trainer says to him, right, come on, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he essentially, this isn't verbatim, but he essentially says, show a bit of heart, step on the gas, essentially said, telling him to go for it, basically, you know. And I was thinking, I don't know, that's maybe a bit risky. And it turned out to be the case, you know, got greedy, switched off. What did you make of that advice from Huni's corner?
So, I can see it from both sides. Obviously, Fabio Wardley, he looked like he'd given up. He did. He looked like he'd given up. He looked like he'd given up, dejected. Huni was having it all his own way. Huni was hitting him at will, and it's like towards the end of the fight, Fabio just stopped even trying to get out of the way and be defensive, even though he wasn't. He didn't have any defense, but he stopped even trying to have defense, and he was just getting pinged and getting caught, and then just firing back when he could, like when they were throwing together. So I think they thought, come on, if we knock this guy out, close the show, that's it, millions and millions. We're fighting Dubois next or Usyk. That's what the trainer was thinking, and it was so easy that I could understand why they thought, yeah, let's close the show now because this guy's finished. He's got nothing left. But if they'd done their research, but on the other hand, another coach might have thought, no, this guy's dangerous, always dangerous because of that power. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep boxing him. Two more rounds and we've got this in the bag. So I can see why the trainer did that. And it was bad advice in hindsight. But if you think a guy's finished and you're winning every round so easy, then why wouldn't you say, right, come on, let's step on the gas now? But the thing is, Huni, I guarantee his trainer didn't say step in square on with your chin in the air. He didn't say that. He said just up the gears a bit and put the pressure on.
Chin gaping open. You know?
So it's not like it's good advice, bad advice. I don't think it was bad advice because Huni just thought it was so easy that he can just stand in there square on that he was finished. I think they thought because Fabio looked finished, and then I think he probably thought, hey, that looks good. Thank you very much with that chin there. Target.
I think you said something that this is where I think for me, and I can kind of see, I didn't look at it from that point of view, actually, so that was interesting. But I think and I know he was a late replacement, but they must have been aware that, you know, Fabio Wardley, obviously, you know, he's known as probably, and Carl Frampton said he's probably in the top 3 power punchers in the heavyweight. I'll probably agree with that. I'll probably say Dubois, Fabio Wardley, maybe AJ or Wilder if he's still got anything left as the kind of 3 biggest punchers. I think I'd have erred on the side of caution. Like, we know Wilder and Wardley. Well, I say we know Wardley carries the power late. In the first Fraser Clark fight, he seemed to lose a lot of pop on his shots towards the end. So I don't know. Maybe they didn't. But when you've got a
exhaustion in the Fraser Clark fight.
Yeah, and maybe they thought he looked absolutely spent and exhausted the other night. I don't know. It's easy, and that's what channels like us. It's easy for us to then speculate. Like you say, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Oh, I wish I'd have done that. Well, yeah, you know, at the time it feels like the right decision. So yeah, but on to this is the big. This is going to be the kind of post-fight analysis of Huni now. Like the skills aren't in question. He's 26. He's obviously going to still improve, but no power and no chin, but all the skills. Bit of a problem at heavyweight though, Chris, isn't it?
Yeah. If he had Wardley's, even if he didn't have power, if he had a beard on him, if he had a beard on him,
whiskers.
Yeah, he would be. I would say that he can give Usyk trouble because he's just as wily and just as in the Matrix as Usyk. I'm telling you now, that was obviously people are going to go, oh, Wardley's crap because he's not. Wardley ain't crap. He's half okay boxing skills and he's got power, but Huni exceptional. I just wish he had a chin on him. But I think the best. He needs what Huni needs is he needs Kronk style. It doesn't make
sit on his shots.
Yeah, it doesn't make you a knockout artist, but they teach you balance, stepping in, the best like they make you a harder puncher. I think someone like Andy Lee or Sugar Hill, someone like that, he needs a Kronk style trainer for sure.
Yeah, and then when he gets him on the ropes, really just sit there, really kind of put his shots together. And do you know it's what was I going to say? It kind of reminds me of a combination between Cabiel and like a prime Michael Hunter. Like he's got that kind of IQ and skills. I wouldn't put him in the Usyk kind of category yet, but you know, he's got that the kind of IQ of Hunter, and he's got that kind of you know, more of a kind of flamboyant Cabiel. So the difference is Cabiel has got a lot more power. Yeah, and a fantastic chin. We saw that against Yang. Anytime Yang's knocked someone down, they've been in all sorts of trouble. Cabiel popped back up, stuck it on him, and got Zhang out of there. So, but I do worry for Huni a little bit. He's very young, but I do worry that lack of power and chin is going to be a problem because every time he gets caught, he's going to be in trouble, Chris, isn't he?
Yeah. He needs that, but obviously, and he just can't. You can't switch off, no matter how easy it is. Don't switch off. So I think he just got gassed where it was so easy, and his trainer's like, right, yeah, just step up the gears now. He's gonna go, and he's gone out like, yes, I've got this in the bag. 2 rounds, sweet.
Yeah, easily done it.
Switched off.
But heat of the moment.
That's learning now. So next time he's in a big fight with a big name. And it's easy, he won't switch off.
There you go. That's that. I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to get round to that point. But he'd have learned an awful lot from that. Yeah. And he seems like a really lovely guy as well. He was very humble in defeat. You know, he said, you know, Wardley's a great fighter. He never gave up. You know, and he didn't have to say all that. So coming round to Wardley. I'm going to start with Ben Davidson. I've noticed a bit of a trend with it, and we were talking about this as well. I've noticed a bit of a trend with his fighters, with this kind of low lead hand, relying on reflexes, going to the body to bring the guard down and bringing that right over the top. Almost like it's almost like he thinks he sort of cracked the matrix or he sort of found this kind of special weapon to bring into the war. Doesn't matter what's going on. We've got this one thing in our arsenal. It's going to do it every time. You've probably noticed this a bit, and maybe I'm being a bit unfair, but you know, I like to bring out difficult questions. Is this a bit of an issue, right? Because for a Toma, perfect. Because he's got the reflexes, the agility, the IQ, brilliant. AJ and Wardley are big, strong, stiff punchers.
I know Alois Jr. is not a good mix for that.
Alois, another really good example. Big, strong, stiff, robotic. Might sound disrespectful, but it's not a criticism. They're just why does his fighters all need to do that? Can there not be of kind of case by case? All right, that's your kind of style you want to go with, Chris. But surely you want to adapt a little bit with certain fighters like AJ and Wardley, if you see where I'm going.
Yeah, I think what it is I just think he's where one thing that it's a curse and a problem. So David Benavides, what's he called again? Ben Davidson.
Ben Davidson.
Yeah. So he's a young trainer and he's a modern trainer. So they do a lot of video analytics. Yeah, so they'll watch fighters' previous fights. They use this computer software, and all the fighters tells, like, oh, he scratches his nose before he throws a right hand. He does this. When he pulls his shorts up, it means he's gassed. They do that. So in their mind, sometimes they think, right, it will happen when he does this. When I tell you, go for the knockout. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They plan their fight around their video analytics. Not all the time, but sometimes that's what they do. And we're not robots, we're human beings. So that shit ain't always going to work. It's not always, we're unpredictable. Human beings are unpredictable. And you're not always going to be able to get, and the proof's in the pudding because he doesn't always get it like that. I think he always wants to go like more free flowing. And I think he's only got one style of coaching, and I don't know if he knows how to teach any others. He's not diverse like that. So that's my thoughts on it.
No, yeah. And just as this is another question that popped into my head that I hadn't written down. Do you think, and I know your answer already because we spoke about it, but while we're on air, I'll ask it. Do you think for AJ, I wonder whether he's too long in the tooth now to change? So maybe, but for say Alloys and Fabio Wardley, because this is on Fabio Wardley, he's 30. You know, do you think maybe he needs someone like a Don Charles, a Derek James, I don't know, a Tony Sims, someone more like that?
Yeah. For me, and for selfish reasons as well, he needs Tony Sims, Don Charles, someone solid. Even, I tell you, Andy Lee. But Andy Lee will be a great trainer because he's versatile. He can teach that style for his offense, and he can really tighten up his defense, and he can probably make him into a more efficient, better puncher than he is now. I think Andy Lee probably be a great fit, or Don Charles, Tony Sims, because Fabio Ward, he needs to sort that defense out. It's too fucking leaky. But yeah.
I'd love to see him with Don Charles. I can see the Andy Lee one as well. I just think, I know it's all right, you know, and I would ask Fabio this in an interview. I'd say, look, are you doubling down on this style as you move through the levels? Is this because he did allude to this, Chris? I want to touch on this, that I don't want to be sustaining damage like that or something like that. He said something like that.
I can't keep taking years off my life for these fights.
But if you go in with that stuff, look, you are one of the most entertaining fighters in Britain I've seen for a while. That's why we're going with the title, the British Wilder, because it kind of fits. He's very entertaining, but if he's going to continue with that style, he's going to get more punishment. I suppose if he completely... Well, I don't know. I guess it's just about making adjustments. Just bring the hands up a little bit more. Just bring them in. Just bring them in a little bit more. You know?
What he's doing is, there's no point, having your hand here, or here, or here. It was like here at some stage.
Yeah.
Like, if you're tired, tuck up and stand there. And they can't penetrate through the guard. If you're tired standing there like this, he's lucky that wasn't a punch. He would have got himself fucking knocked out. Because he's just stood there with one hand here, hand low. It's not protecting his chin, head. It's not doing nothing. And then Huni was like, are you just going to stand there? Bang. Are you just going to stand there? Bang. Are you going to stand there?
Yeah.
And he weren't blocking anything. His hand was there and he was punching around it. Because if you're going to do that, if he's going to do that, he needs Ben Davidson or his coach saying, making a code word, because I use code words, and or even just saying it, get your fucking hand on your chin. What are you doing? Because he was stood there, hand out here, not that bad, but it was like there. It was there sometimes. It was never where solid there. Solid. It was never where it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I think
and Ben Davison said in a post-fight interview, and I think I sent this to you, but you might not have had a chance because I thought, this was quite telling. And Ben, I think he was talking to TalkSport and Gareth A. Davis, and he said, look, when we're looking at someone like Huni, we're not going to be nicking the rounds. There's no point me setting up a game plan for him to nick rounds. What we were looking at was to try and catch him. So essentially, he even used the Wilder example. He said, you look at like Wilder. So it looked as though, Chris, and I wanted to bring this into the video. I saw this late today. It looked as though that was kind of the game plan. So, which I'm quite a little bit surprised at, because it's so leaky-deaky fucking... Right, we're going to take loads of punishment, Derek Chisora style. We're just going to try and, dip at the hips and find an overhead right at some point in the fight. Madness.
I don't believe that. I think they were going for the knockout, but there's not. How can you, like you say, how can you say that's your game plan? Like when Alan fought Fisher, that was a game plan, yeah. But Alan was like tight. Alan was like invulnerable. Parry, tuck it up.
I'm only paraphrasing from what he was saying.
So if that's your game plan, why are you getting tagged up? You should be on the super defensive, waiting for your opportunity, not getting a beating to land a shot. So I don't believe that was a game plan at all.
I think obviously I have to look into the full interview, and I'm sure he wouldn't have been wanting Fabio to be taking that amount of damage. Would have wanted him to obviously slip the shots more, but essentially he was saying that we weren't looking to win rounds. We were looking to obviously land that shot on and get him out of there. So,
I think
there we are.
To be fair to Ben Davison, he was screaming at Fabio Wardley. I can't remember. I think it was round 5 and 6. and 7. Like, he was screaming at him because he was getting animated because he wasn't following instructions. And then I would. What's the next question?
The next question is, and you went with this in the intro anyway, but I'll get you to answer again. Is Wardley's lack of amateur pedigree hurting him and going to hurt him moving forward? I think I know the answer to this.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. One thing I want to say: everyone's jumping on the bandwagon like Wardley's a hype job over. No. You're only as good as your last fight. His last fight, sublime. First round KO. Fight before that, held his own against the boxer on Will and Hart. I think Wardley has got a chin.
David Adelaide.
Yeah, chin. David Adelaide, chin, power, and heart. And all he needs to do is work on that defense. That's all he needs to do. And just have a few learning fights. He needs to have work on his defense in one camp. Fight someone who's not very good, and I'm gonna do like what Peter Fury does with his fighters, yeah. Because people always come like Matty Harris the other day. He could have probably knocked this guy out anytime he wanted, yeah. But Peter Fury says, no, you don't learn anything. I don't give a shit if people are booing. I want to see if you show me what we've learned in the gym and you're fucking doing it. So he tells his fighters, don't knock him out, pull your punches. He gets them used to just throwing 50 or 60%. So then they know how to go from 60% to 100%, and you shock people, you catch people. He needs to go out there. He needs to learn some defensive skills and put them into practice. I'd say fight Miller. Try and get the Miller fight on again because he likes to throw handscomb. Learn to do your defense good for the rounds, and then step it up when you want to step it up on that offense when they're tired. But he needs to practice his defense. He needs to.
Yeah. So he's going in. Yeah. So he's obviously the WBA Mando now, and he's the mandatory. I think though, and I just want to get your reaction to it. I think he maybe needs a couple more fights around the sort of Huni level, top 10, top 15 to work on some stuff.
I'd say a little bit lower.
Yeah, maybe top 20. Maybe, I mean, I gave you a couple of names like, Guido Vianello, recently lost to Torres Jr., who's a prospect, but he did beat Mac Madoff. I know Mac Madoff's a big stiff heavyweight, been exposed. Or someone like, who was the other? Otto Wallin, someone like that.
Wallin. Wallin would be good. But
Jermaine Franklin, Hergovich, maybe a Hergovich.
No, I would say no, not Hergovich. No, definitely not.
Yeah. But he needs to.
Hergovich would be too good for him right now. And he's got the experience to go 12 rounds and survive in that. No. I think that won't be a good one. And Hergovich has got a chin. Don't forget.
Yeah.
He's another one who's been hit by Zhang and woke up and got up off the ground, off the canvas.
Yeah. Looking back, Chris, I think Miller might have been a problem for Wardley but Miller's got good output even off the pharmaceuticals. Really good chin. We'll keep hitting you. We'll keep coming forward. I think we might have seen, honestly, looking at that, obviously only going last performance, I think Miller would have been a real problem. I think Miller would be looking at that. Like when he fucking lost the AJ fight, and obviously because of
he was wounded.
He probably looked back and thought, oh, that could have been. This is the thing. Miller could have been a champion. Like the two big fights he's had to pull out of, Wardley and Joshua, he could have won. It's just chucking in there. Miller's a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Well, I think he should fight Miller next because he's slow. He doesn't hit very hard, so he can practice his defense. He needs to, and it'll be.
He's like a heavy bag.
Yeah, he needs to.
But it could be a problem.
Let Miller come onto him and fight on the back foot count. He needs to practice being invulnerable, tight defense. He needs to practice it.
That was going to bring me onto my last question before we go on to what's next for Huni and then wrap up the video. Mm-hmm. In that fight, there was a complete lack of inside fighting from Wardley as well. Either wanted to tie up, or maybe that was because he was tired, but no inside game at all against Huni. What do you, I guess my question is, does he lack inside game, or was it just in that fight Huni was too good and
Huni was just better than him at everything, and where Wardley can't even really do the basics, he's always relied on his athleticism and his power, and that was nullified.
Yeah,
His superior boxing, brain and skill. But he needs to learn the basics just to not get hurt and keep himself safe and wait for his opportunity. Because then when that guy tires, then you can just let loose, let your hands go. So that's the problem. And what I will say is, like Wardley, I believe the occasion got to him because he does feint. He does do a bit. He does do a little bit of feinting. He can slip shots, and he kept moving back in straight lines. And he doesn't always do that. Doesn't always do that. He does step back a bit diagonally or step off to the side, and he just kept moving. I think the occasion got to him. He didn't realise how good Huni was, and I think it sort of sunk in that he might lose. And shit, I have got no amateur skills. This guy is boxing my head off, and I can't do nothing about it. And I think that made him even more anxious, and it just got to him in front of his home fans because he's better than that. He's better than that. He's got a bit of lateral movement, bending at the waist, like properly, not just bending there and staying there waiting to get hit, thinking, oh, if I stay here for a bit, maybe he can't reach me. I don't know what that was all about. He's a lot better than what we've seen. And I think it was the occasion in front of his own home fans and all that did it to him.
But wonderful, entertaining finish. Great fight. Not a brilliant performance from Wardley. I'm just sort of wrapping up before the next question. Yeah. Great performance from Huni. Not great from Wardley, but what an entertaining finish. So just quickly on Huni, because I feel like we need to just covering quickly what next for Huni, really, because if anything, sometimes you get this with losses, don't you, where weirdly, sometimes, even though we're questioning his chin, has he got power, bad knockout, but his stock's kind of risen. He's got your respect. He's got my respect. He's got a lot of British fighters will be following him now. The Australians can be proud. He seems like a good young man. He's young. He's going to improve. Isn't it weird how you can lose, but do you know what? You've given a great performance, and actually, his stock's risen, Chris, isn't it? I would say.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Do you know what? I think he just needs to have like a confidence builder. Because I know if you've been knocked out quite badly, you're not allowed to fight for like 6 months or something. Like they put restrictions on your license, don't they? So take some time out, take some rest.
Who would you chuck him in there with, Chris? What are the sort of names you would look at?
I would say like people like Miller, Franklin, Wally,
Michael Hunter,
Pulev, definitely, and maybe Zhang, because Zhang's quite slow as long as he don't get caught. But
that's the thing. Yeah.
He's not ready for a Caballero yet. I wouldn't go to that level because I'd say probably Caballero, Joseph Parker. They're like the top dogs just below world level, and I'd say
fringe.
He's not ready. He's not ready for them guys yet. But just below above European title, just quite coming onto the world stage. Them guys.
He does things that I think. Mate, if he had a chin, just to finish what we've been saying all along, if he had punch resistance, you can never really improve. I guess you can just tighten up your defense and your movement and the rest of it. But if he had a little bit extra power or a little bit of a better chin, mate, he'd be right up there. I just think he just lacks in those two areas. But good luck to him. Really like him. Skills for Dub was very impressed with him. Just switched off, and the Fabio Wardley train continues, Chris.
That's it. Like and subscribe, guys. Like and subscribe.
Leave a comment. Share the vid. Nice.